Welcome. We are getting some people in here now, and we're going to start the Friday live stream pretty soon. Getting a few people. Howdy. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Looks like I got a few on, a few on YouTube. Getting some people in on Insta. How's everybody doing? This is our Friday live stream, so we jump on every Friday. Either myself, Lane, or Holly answer your guys' questions about the app, nutrition, wherever you guys are getting hung up. This is your time to ask questions to the people that made the app. So let's see here. And guys, if you do have questions on IG, it's best to put it into the question box thing, and then I can pull it up so that everybody can see what question I'm answering. And so let's see if we got any in there. No questions yet. Let's see. Getting quite a few people in here. How's everybody doing? Let's see. What questions you guys got about the app? You have me for the next hour to ask, anything you guys want to ask. 1 second. Okay, if I'm coming from working from a coach and I have my maintenance established from them, how can I use that and still be coached by the app? Great question. So when you create a goal with Carb and Diet Coach, you have the option to enter a maintenance value. So if you know your maintenance and you've been tracking, or if you've worked with a coach and you've found where your maintenance calories are at, you can enter that when you create a goal, and then Carbon will take over from there. So that'll give you the best possible starting place. If you don't enter a custom maintenance because you don't know it, then the app is going to figure out, it's going to estimate where you need to be, but it could be off. So that's why if you do know, it's best to enter that into the app to get the best possible starting place for you. Let's see. Expecting some water retention from creatine. How should we check in? So if you start taking creatine, it's best to just wait to check in until your weight has stabilized. So, typically it's going to take like 2 to 3 weeks for your weight to stabilize once you start taking creatine. So I would just, if you created a goal, just wait to check in until your weight stabilizes, and then check in, and then you're off to the races. All right. Can I use the app for reverse dieting after a competition? Absolutely. So the reverse diet setting it's very useful for people that are competing, but not even just that, just the people that are looking to improve their metabolism. So it'll work for really anybody. So yeah, reverse dieting will work good. Okay. All right. So gaining weight slower than the planned amount, but within Carbon's leave it alone range. Lifts are progressing well. Let it ride and enjoy the lean gains. So it just depends if you're okay with that. Like you did mention, yeah, there is a range that we allow is like a tolerance for being within that, and you are within that. So technically, the coach is doing good for you, but like I would probably leave it and ride it out to see how long you can make some nice lean gains for. And then, as your gaining slows, the app is going to adjust. So once you fall outside of that range that is allowed, it's going to start adjusting. So I would just ride it out, see where you go. There's really no sense in just jacking your calories up just to all of a sudden make you start gaining weight more quickly. You're gaining weight consistently, which is what's really important with a slower weight gain setting. So yeah, I would leave it, especially since your training seems to be going very well as well. So yeah, I would definitely leave that. Okay, I'm on day 3. Loving it. Is it okay to only hit calories first and then hone in on macro targets as we go? Absolutely. I think it's best to start with what you're comfortable with. So if you're comfortable with hitting your calories first and really prioritizing that first, I think that's a great first step in, getting onboarded with Carbon, getting onboarded with the process of checking in and doing all that. But, if you want to get the best possible results, you're going to have to take it a step further and then hone in on your macros. So, I would take it as like calories first, make that your priority. And once you're able to do that and be consistent, then maybe layer in protein on top. That could be the next kind of building block where you're making sure you're hitting the right protein. You're eating it consistently each day in terms of like how you're spacing it out. And then after that, then you can move up and aim to hit all of the macros to level up to that. So yeah, you don't have to jump completely into the deep end with hitting all your macros off the start. You can kind of take a stepwise approach. Good question. When the app asks for compliance, what is the margin of error for calories? Plus or minus 2.5% is what the compliance range is. Does Carbon track fiber? Yes, it does. A lot of people miss it, but on the diary, towards the top of the meal totals or the daily macro totals, there's like a little icon. You tap that, that'll pull up a summary of your whole nutrition for the day, and it'll show fiber, it'll show sugar, it'll show all the vitamins and minerals. So yeah, it definitely keeps track of your fiber as well. We just don't necessarily put it front and center. We put the calories, protein, carbs, and fats front and center, but yeah, you can still see fiber in there. All right. Getting quite a few questions here. Thanks you guys for all the great questions and tuning in on this Friday. Let's see. Hopefully I can get to all of them. How to track pulled pork? Looking at uncooked fat content seems inaccurate. It just depends where it's from. You can try to find where you got it from in the database, or even a Google search, try to find that specific item, and then you can track it more accurately. Is it worth upping protein for like better body composition? No, not necessarily. So carbon sets you already off in a great place for your protein, so you don't have to up it even higher. You're likely not going to see any difference going with the default protein value in carbon and then upping it. So it's more of a preference thing. If you prefer to you like eating more protein, you prefer more, you can do that. It's not necessarily going to provide you any better of results. Okay, got some back here on YouTube, Facebook. How many times can you gain too much weight and have your calories drop back down during a reverse before the app tells you to end the reverse? So the app isn't going to tell you when necessarily to end your reverse. It'll tell you, you'll get a prompt saying that your metabolism is in a good place while you're reverse dieting, but it's always the user's choice to change the goal. So you're able to ride it out, as long as they want, and if they get that message, and then keep riding it out if they want to keep improving their metabolism. But if you're constantly gaining so much weight that the app keeps dropping your calories, you are not going to benefit anymore from reverse dieting. So I would probably switch the setting there. And funny thing is, I haven't been meeting my calorie goal and I'm gaining. So it sounds like you're marking compliant when you're not compliant then, which is going to kind of screw things up. So I would only mark compliant if you're actually compliant to your macros and calories. Just joining. Have you guys discussed making calorie count based off macros and not labels? Made me believe your suggested calories for me was high until I realized it was different total with the macro count. Philip, we have a feature called the macro calories, where we basically calculate the calories that you're consuming in the foods that you're eating in your diary based on the macro content. So it's not going to look at the calories from food labels. So if you want to enable that, you need to go to settings, and then I believe it's display preferences, and then tap on the macro calories setting. There are things to keep in mind with that. If we're calculating the calories that are displayed based on the macros, alcohol is going to be wrong. So if there are any alcoholic drinks you track, the calories for those alcoholic drinks are going to be wrong. So if you want to look, we have a Help Center article about how to accurately track alcohol when you have the macro calories enable feature. So I believe the prompt when you enable it gives you a link to it. So check that out, and I think that is what you are looking for. I prefer to eat high carb, low fat. How much fat is too little for female hormone health? The app, we put minimums in the app to where it's going to likely be enough for your overall hormone health. But everybody is different, so it's hard to say. But I would, if you just do the low fat option in Carbon and leave it at the default, you're going to be completely fine. I think it's only when you get to really extreme levels that some people might notice some issues, but with the defaults in Carbon, it's built to take all this into account. So I would just go with the default low fat option, and that'll give you a good amount of carbs and keep fat more in a healthy range. All right. So, Scott, how to choose between fat loss or reverse goal? 52 years old, need to lose 35 pounds to get back into a healthy weight. So, reverse dieting is typically done after dieting. So, it typically is used to reverse the dieting side effects that you get from dieting. And so, it's typically follows a diet cycle. So, if you don't have I guess a really poor metabolism from years of yo-yo dieting or stuff like that, it's usually best to just start off with your goal that you have in mind, like fat loss. The reason why some people start with reverse dieting off the bat is because they just have trashed their metabolism from years of poor dieting practices. So if you don't fall into that camp, I would go with fat loss to start and kind of just see what the coach does, see how your body responds, and then you can make the decision of, hey, it's really taking my calories low. I'm not really seeing progress. At that point, then maybe it makes sense to switch to reverse dieting for a while, work on optimizing your metabolism before trying to do another fat loss phase. So that is what I would do. The app has breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Does that mean only 3 meals, or can I have one snack but staying within my same calories? So those breakfast, lunch, and dinner are just the default options for your meals, but you can go into settings and enable more meals and rename meals and customize the diary section as much as you want. So you go to settings, then you go to customize meals, I believe is the name of it. And then there you can toggle on and off meals, as well as hit the edit button in the top right. And if you hit the edit, then you can rename it. So that should be what you're looking for there. In the future, will I ever consider to upload progress pictures with your weight? Yeah, I think it would be cool to upload progress pictures for the coaching check-ins. We have to think about how we want to use it and how we want to implement it, but I think it's a cool idea. Fair to say calories in, calories out affects weight. Macros affect body composition. Oversimplified, I know. Yeah, it's very oversimplified, but so if you compare calorie equated diets, one with very low protein and one with a normal or high protein, you do see different body composition changes as somebody loses weight. So yeah, the macros in your proteins, more specifically in your diet, is going to dictate a little bit more of the composition of the weight loss. So yeah, that is oversimplified, but calories will get your weight moving. But if you want to lose body fat, you need to make sure that you're getting adequate protein, you are weight training or doing some kind of resistance training, and not trying to lose weight too fast. There's a lot of things that can help shift that loss more to body fat versus muscle. But yeah. If we want to just track calories and protein, would we just hit compliant each week and ignore carbs and fats? Yeah, if that's what you want to do. If you want to do calories and protein, if that's what's most important to you, and you're okay with maybe not getting the best possible results with the app, or the app not working as best as possible, that's the trade-off. Like if you have a varying level of carbs and fats in your diet, you're going to see more weight fluctuations, especially if your carb intake is going up and down and not consistent, like on a daily basis. You're going to see a lot more weight fluctuations. And when you have weight fluctuations, that can really screw up things if you don't have a lot of weights entered into the app. So like if you're not doing daily weights and you're just adding your weight on your check-in day each week, like there's a chance that something funny could happen, because what if you catch yourself on, a day where your scale is high just because you had a high carb day before, when your body's used to, lower carb. So that's really the trade-off that you get with only doing protein and calories. But as long as you're aware of that and try to mitigate it by weighing as often as possible, I think it can be fine. How to pick a goal weight when in a calorie deficit. If you don't have, like, usually you're going to want to set some kind of goal for yourself, because you need kind of this goalpost to look for. If you just say, I want to lose weight, like it's not specific enough for you to stay motivated and, want to do it. So you need to sit down, think about for yourself, what is your goal? Nobody's going to be able to tell you really what your goal is for you. So you need to set one for yourself. If you don't have one in mind, maybe just set, it in like 5 pound increments or something like that, if you're looking to lose weight. So like just, take it in chunks, 5 pounds. So maybe set your goal for 5 pound weight loss. Once you get there, it's going to say, congratulations, you reached your weight loss goal. And then you can update it and say, okay, I want to do another 5 pounds and then another 5 pounds. So you could do it that way if you don't have like this longer term weight goal that you're aiming to shoot for. When to reverse diet and for how long? So typically a reverse diet is done after a diet. And so if you are dieting and your calories get low and you start to feel a lot of effects from dieting, like, poor sleep, mood, just extreme hunger, all of these things can come towards the end of a diet. And so as those things start creeping up, that's when you're nearing the end of when your body wants to, finish the diet and be done. Like your body's going to start fighting you at some point. And so that's usually the sign where you should think about switching over to reverse diet to try to undo those adaptations that happen as you're dieting. So you will switch over to reverse. And for how long? I mean, it's completely dependent on you and how long you've been dieting, what your dieting history is. So there's not like a set amount. There's no standard for like, oh, you need to reverse for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. But, as long as you diet, usually you're going to want to reverse diet for maybe even the full amount that you've dieted for. So like a 1-to-1 ratio, that could be a good ratio to shoot for. So if you do like a 12-week diet, maybe shoot for 12-week reverse. It could be less, could be more, but maybe that's a good kind of rule of thumb, is try to just match it up with the length of the diet, because then you should be able to undo all of those things that happen during that dieting phase. So yeah, but reverse is very individualized. I know there's a lot of questions about reversing and confusion around reversing. And so hopefully these Q&As and the content that we put out help to answer those questions. All right, let's see. I got quite a few here on Facebook, YouTube. Let's see. Oh, Philip. Yeah, we don't want to default to something people aren't necessarily familiar with. So most people have no idea what macro calories are. So if we set that as the default, we would get so many confused people because they would be like, the food label says 250 calories, but the diary is only saying, 200. Like, so that's why we don't set it as default, because it's more of like a advanced type feature where only people that have been tracking macros for a while know and understand what that might be. What's the ideal grams of protein per meal? So it depends on your lean body mass, how much lean body mass you have. But I think anywhere in the range of like 20 to 40 grams is probably a good range to be in for each meal. One thing I recommend for people is take your total protein amount for the day and then divide it by the number of meals that you like eating. And as long as it's, above that, probably 25, I would probably be like 25, above 25 for women. Make sure you're above that per meal, and then you're good to go. Like setting a protein target based on the total amount of protein you have per day, and then break it out equally to each meal, and then just make sure that each meal is enough. So don't have too many meals. Like I think a good meal range is to be in like anywhere from like 3 to 5 meals a day is a good range for most people to be in. So as long as you're within that, you should be good. What's a realistic body fat try and maintain? It's different for everybody. Like some people have a really hard time maintaining, less than 10% body fat. Some people can maintain less than 10% body fat with ease. Like it's really depends on the person. And I think it's more of like a settling point thing. So like, over time, as you get leaner, as your body gets more used to you staying a little bit leaner, I think it becomes easier and easier. So it's something you get used to. So like if you have a ton of body fat, losing a bunch of body fat, you're probably going to feel, and then you get lean, like you're probably going to feel worse than somebody that has been a little bit more lean and then lost weight, because, it's closer to what their body thinks is normal. So, but I think over time you can kind of shift that to be a little bit more comfortable at leaner body fat percentages. So like for myself, I used to, my body liked to be at like, I don't know, like 12 to 15 when I first started in fitness. And then like, over time, I just kept losing body fat and gaining muscle and doing multiple like reverse dieting cycles. And over time that helped me get to a place where I'm able to maintain like, I think like 8% body fat pretty easily for myself. I think if I try to push below 8% and get like super lean, then it starts really feeling like work. But to get to like 8 to 10% body fat for me is not that difficult, and it's more normal for my body. So something you can change over time. You just have to be patient. You have to take care of your metabolism. You have to try to build muscle over time, and then you should be able to maintain a leaner physique. All right. Let's see here. I had a week of non-compliant. My weight is artificially up 5 pounds. I know that after this week of being compliant, Carbon will think I've lost much more than I really have and bump up my calories, which I don't want. Advice. I mean, my first advice is to try to not have these incidences where you are non-compliant, you gain 5 pounds in a week. Like that's something you want to try to avoid in the long run. It does happen though sometimes. So uh, really, I mean, it's difficult to say what the best thing to do here is. Um, Yeah, I think I would reach out to support because they can probably give you a better, more specific answer based on your your back end data and everything. I can't really see any of that right now, so I think I would reach out to support. Oops. Let's see. Um, let's see. Mm, As a non-meat eater, I'm struggling to hit my protein. Use so much whey protein to get close. I would make sure that your protein target is actually in the right place. You know, if you don't have a accurate body fat percentage when you start out with carbon, it's going to set your protein in a place where you don't necessarily need to be. So if the app thinks you're like have a lot of lean body mass, it's going to set protein higher. So and then also if you barely eat meat or don't eat meat, I would choose the vegan vegetarian option because then that lowers your protein a little bit just because it's harder to hit your protein. And so make sure you have it on that setting. And then you can even adjust it down from there if you need to. Like in diet preferences, if you go to settings and then diet preferences, you can adjust your protein down further to a level that you feel like you can hit. But in terms of food choices, whey protein, obviously, easy way to get in protein. Uh, you say you eat fish, so that's good. There's some meat there or some protein, so that's good. You can are you so you have some whey, maybe you also can have some dairy like products like uh, Greek yogurt, maybe. If you're okay with whey, you should be okay with having Greek yogurt. That's pretty high in protein. And then your other foods, like making sure that you're eating other foods that have protein in them, and not necessarily just carbs. So, like for your carbs, maybe have some more wheat type protein. So you're getting some protein there. Fats, make sure you're eating like nuts because then you're getting protein there. So you need to kind of look at it that way and just look at the normal kind of vegan, vegetarian protein options and just try to maximize as much as possible. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Okay, Cyrus, I find it difficult to meet my macros/calories. Carbon gave me lower calories. I started at 96 kilograms and now I'm stuck at 85 for a month now. As of now, 4 months on carbon diet coach. Do I need a diet break or reverse diet? I'm afraid to gain fat again. That's one thing that people really struggle with that end up losing weight is they have this deathly fear of gaining any fat back. But if you are consistent, you are controlled with your diet, you're never going to gain a ton of fat back. You're building really important habits right now where if you continue and be consistent, you don't ever have to really worry about gaining a bunch of body fat back. There might be times when you gain a few pounds of body fat back, but it's not necessarily going to change the way you look at all, really. And so it sounds like, you have been dieting hard. You are due for, a little bit of a break, whether that's, you take a diet break or you want to do a reverse diet. I think they can both be beneficial for you. And then you can reassess, how are you feeling? After that and maybe switch back to fat loss to get you to your end goal or maybe reverse diet for a while. Just depends. But as we start getting closer to the holidays and stuff, it's usually nice to work on increasing your metabolism by reverse dieting so that you have more food to work with around the holidays. and then maybe starting a diet, again sometime next year or something. So you could do that, but I think a lot of people get really afraid of gaining any body fat back, but you need to let go of that fear and just know that, with carbon, with the process, you're not going to gain a ton of body fat on the reverse diet setting or anything like that. You'll see the warning signs. You'll get the coach will start dropping your macros if you are gaining too much. So there are a lot of things in place to help you guide you on that path. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I'm hitting around 90 grams of my protein from whey. Is it okay? That's quite a bit. I mean, I would personally try to eat a variety of protein sources. Whey protein is fine. It's not like it's not going to be like bad for you to eat 90 grams from whey protein, but you're missing out on, all of the other nutrients and stuff that come from foods that you might not necessarily get in a whey protein powder. So I would try to maybe lower that protein, maybe cut it in half, and then try to include more diverse protein in your diet. So from different sources. And and plus 90 grams of protein a day from whey, that probably is going to get pretty expensive. So I don't know. I would try to find some other options that you enjoy. Let's see here. Here's one basically about they're not able to work out, and now they're jumping back into working out. Let's see. Yeah, I would. If it's only been a week of like not working out, and then you jump back into working out, you can probably just jump right back into where carbon left off at, and you'll be fine. Lost 20 pounds as of week 13. Moved to maintain, but maybe I should have moved to lean gains. Want to lose fat. So if you want to lose fat, being on the weight loss setting is going to be your best bet. If you go to maintenance, you're probably not going to lose any more body fat. You're going to just kind of spin your wheels. A lot of people think that they can recomp, which is like basically losing fat and building muscle at the same time. I hear a lot of times, I'm fine with my weight. I just want to lose body fat, which means that they need to build muscle if they want to lose body fat and stay the same weight. And, for the large majority of people, this is not a realistic expectation. It's not going to happen. You need to be in a specific scenario where you've never worked out before, or you're coming off of a long layoff of working out, and you've never eaten a high protein diet in your life, and now you just started eating a high protein diet. But since you've been using carbon and you lost 20 pounds already, moving to maintenance is only going to stop your fat loss. And so if you want to lose fat, you jump back into weight loss and go until you are happy with your body fat percentage. And then you can switch to reverse dieting to bring up your maintenance calories and then hopefully maintain that. Juan asks, I'm using the gain goal at 0.5 pounds a week coming off of a reverse diet. Is that a good gain rate to minimize body fat with carbon modifying macros appropriately? So it depends for you. Like if you took the slider on the weight gain setting all the way to the left or all the way down, that's going to be the best way to minimize body fat as you're gaining, if it's paired with weight training. So this is given that you're weight training hard, you have progressive overload, you're giving your body a reason to build muscle. If you're doing that, then going with the conservative gain with the slider as close as you can to the left, I think is a good place. For you, I don't know if that's 0.5 pounds a week or not, but Carbon will modify your macros appropriately for sure. And so we also get a lot of questions about like, what's the difference between uh, the weight gain and reverse dieting? Like, don't they kind of function similarly? They do, but there's one main difference. Whereas like the weight gain setting forces your body to gain weight at the rate that you set every single week. So it's going to keep adjusting your macros until you're gaining at the rate that you set on average. And with reverse dieting, it's kind of different where you set a max allowable amount of weight gain that you're okay with gaining on a weekly basis, and then the app is going to constantly increase your calories each week until you gain too much weight. So it's not forcing your body to gain weight. It's like, I'm okay with gaining a little bit of weight, but my main goal is to increase my calories over time. And so that's where the main distinction comes in. But you are coming off of a reverse diet. So you are now at the point where you've kind of maximized your current metabolism, and now you are in a slow gain, and Carbon will just keep adjusting those macros as long as or until you are gaining at that rate. But yeah, hopefully that rambling helped you out, Juan. Let's see. I might have some in the comments here. Let me scroll up a little bit. I'm about to start reverse diet. What rate of calorie increase can I expect? It's different for everybody, but I would say most people get a calorie increase in like the 50 to 100 calorie a week range. What is an acceptable weight gain per week on a reverse diet? Carbon will provide that for you. So there'll be a slider that you can adjust in there's like a max allowable weight gain slider. So basically there's a min and max value, and it's based on your overall body weight. So it's a percentage of that. Let's see. Current goal is fat loss, but I'm gaining muscle, so my weight is not budging. My app keeps the macros the same. That good? Yeah, I mean, that means you are losing body fat, which is what you want. If your weight is staying the same and you are on a weight loss setting or fat loss, it's going to not. So the reason why it's not adjusting is because it's sensing that you are losing body fat at a decent rate. So that the app considers that good progress. So, the app does take into account your body fat percentage and the changes in that on a weekly basis. So for you, it sounds like that value is significantly changing, which is why it's not adjusting your macros. So yeah, I'd say that's good. I mean, that should be the desired outcome. That's what a lot of people want, but most people can't do, gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. So that is amazing that you're able to do that. I was 206 pounds last year. Now I'm 180. Thanks for the help of the app. That is amazing. We are so happy to hear that. And yeah, that's just so awesome. We get so many people reaching out saying like, it's helped me get this. And it's crazy to think that, we built this thing that helps so many people. But I love hearing those stories from people. They happen a lot in the Facebook group. I don't know if you guys have joined our Facebook group, but we have an amazing Facebook group. So if you are not a part of it, definitely join. You'll see a lot of people's success stories. You get a lot of tips on how to use the app from other people that are using it, and it's a really great inviting place. There's a lot of toxic Facebook groups out there, but ours is not one of them. I've been working with a health coach, and this app puts me very close to what she had me on. I'm impressed. Thank you. Let's see. How do we know if we've crashed it? I've dieted, but I haven't lost weight, so probably not really dieted. So, a lot of people think that so it sounds like you might have been dieting. Maybe you do the diet during the week and then your weekends are just YOLO. And that's where a lot of people say, I try so hard to lose weight. I'm not losing weight. Uh, I eat very good and I just can't lose weight. I'm eating 1,200 calories or whatever number they say. But then you ask them, okay, what are you eating on the weekends? Well, we tend to go out to eat a lot. I have drinks, I do this. And so the weekend eating is sabotaging your whole week. So uh, you probably, if you don't, you probably don't have a slow metabolism most of the time. It's usually you're just not consistent enough with your diet, and you let those weekends get out of control. And if your weekend is like here in calories, but your week is here, your average is here. Maybe you need to eat here to make progress. So like those weekends are really shifting things and pulling your average to where it shouldn't be. And so you need to make sure you're eating the right calories and protein on average for the week if you want to make consistent progress. And if you haven't been doing that, you probably don't need to reverse diet. You probably just need to be consistent. So figure out a way to be consistent and give weight loss a try. All right. What's the best setting to use after weight loss, reverse dieting, or maintenance? It depends on how long you dieted for. So if it was a longer diet, you're going to be better off going to reverse diet for a little while to get your calories back up because as you diet, your maintenance calories are going to drop. And so uh, once you're done dieting, if you don't allow your body to recover from that diet and get those maintenance calories back up, you're going to forever be in this low suppressed metabolism state if you were to just go right to maintenance instead of reverse dieting. So if it's a longer diet where your metabolism has slowed down a little bit, then reverse dieting is going to be the best setting to go with. But if it's a short diet and you haven't really seen that big of a drop in your maintenance calories, then you can go to maintenance if you're happy with your calorie level and the body composition, weight, everything you have. Maintenance is going to keep everything the same. So it's going to try to keep you within your weight range that you create the goal at. So it's dependent on, I guess, what your goal is, but most of the time, reverse dieting is for after a diet. Compliant can be meeting protein and calories or only calories. So I wouldn't mark compliant if you are just hitting calories. You can potentially mark compliant if you're hitting calories and protein because those are the most important things. But uh, like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the stream, if you have a wide variety of carbs and fats in your diet and or a wide range, like on a daily basis. So like one day you have low carb, the next day you have really high carb. You're going to see your weight fluctuating a lot more, and that's why the more consistent you can be with your macros, you're going to have a lot more of a stable weight. When you have a stable weight, it's a lot easier to see the progress that you're making, and for the app to know where your true weight's at and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And so it's up to you though, that we leave that question up to you because you can determine what is compliance for you. I guess, there's a lot of people that don't think what we determine is appropriate, so they can choose it for themselves. And if they aren't getting the results that they want, then they need to have the honest conversation with themselves of, okay, maybe I need to tighten things up and be more compliant according to what is considered compliant. So there's a lot of people though that do calories and protein that see a lot of success. So you can do it that way. With just calories, I wouldn't do it. uh, what calorie level is considered diet level? whatever is less than your maintenance calories, which is different for everybody else. So you need to create a calorie deficit if you want to lose weight. And so a calorie deficit is what is considered dieting level for you, and a calorie deficit is different for everybody. So the great thing is Carbon figures all this stuff out for you. So if you create a goal in Carbon, it's going to figure out where your maintenance calories are at. It's going to adjust your macros and calories over time based on how your weight's changing to figure out exactly where you need to be eating to see the progress that you want, which is most important. So Carbon can take care of all that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, I got a few here. A lot of good questions today. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Looking for another one here. Why does the coach use check-in date weights rather than weekly average weights when changing goal? The reason why we did that is because usually you want to compare weights from within the same goal. So like your weight is going to do something different, when you're in a gaining phase versus when you're in a loss phase. So your weight is going to be a lot more like volatile. Like when you are gaining weight, it's going to be probably jumping around a lot more. So, we felt it was better to compare weights only with the same goal within the same goal. So that it's a standardized thing. And, if we're comparing across goal types, it could potentially screw things up. So that's the reason why we did that. But, as you create a goal and then you check in, it's going to build up to evaluating an average. So over time, the more compliant you are, the better off it'll be. I sometimes have weight differences per day. I do try to add my weight more than once a week, but I'm still concerned if I have weird weight on the check-in, it'll adjust differently. So if you aren't like on your first week or coming off of a non-compliant week, you don't need to worry about that because it's going to be looking at your average and your trend over time. And so you don't have to worry about putting in a high weight on your check-in day if you've been tracking your weight daily and your average is where it needs to be, outside of that, coming off of a non-compliant week or first week on a new goal. Those are scenarios where it is going to just look at your start and end weight. Let's see. Just wondering why it's only breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no place to put snacks. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner are like the standard in normal society of meals. And so that's what the default is. But you can change it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can add more meals. You can rename meals to fit you. But we wanted to have it be default based on what most people understand. Most people understand breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we put that in there. Go to settings, customize meals, and then you can adjust and you can turn off meals. You can enable more meals. You can rename meals. So yeah, settings and then customize meals will get you what you want. Do you use a particular grams of body weight for carb intake based on the literature? No, because based on the literature for what specifically? Like if it's for performance, no, we don't. If it's for like fat loss or anything like that, there really isn't a carb intake that is going to provide better results. It's a calorie deficit in protein. So we set carbs and fats are really a preference thing with Carbon. It's not necessarily like this is better for fat loss or better for performance or anything like that. That's a decision that for the performance side of things, that's the decision that the athlete needs to take, what they find best in terms of carb intake. But if you do the balanced diet with carbon, it's going to set you at a good place, good carbon fat split. That should be fine for most people. But if you do want to adjust the diet preference, you can adjust it, have more carbs if you prefer more carbs. But in terms of progress that you're going to make with the coach, it's not going to really make a difference. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Cool. When you do a diet break, is it just eating at maintenance for a set amount of days and then going back to fat loss? Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just a maintenance break. And so, yeah, that's the gist of it. Do you feel there's a need to do anything different when checking in after starting to add creatine? I wouldn't check in until your body weight is stabilized from taking creatine. So usually it's about 2 to 3 weeks to when you start taking creatine to fully saturate your muscles with the creatine and then the actual water that's pulled into your muscles. And so I would wait to check in until your weight is stabilized. And so, wait 3 weeks or something and then check in. And what that's going to do is that's just going to avoid any potential adjustments based on your weight changing, because your weight is changing because of the creatine, and the coach largely based on weight changes. So you should not screw with the app in terms of that, and just wait to check in until you have stabilized. And a lot of people like completely change everything about their life when they start carbon, and that causes a lot more weight fluctuations than normal. And so you need to just wait for things to normalize and then kind of just let the coach take over. And so creatine specifically, though, I would wait until your body weight stabilizes and then check in. Feel like I've lost objectivity and can't figure out if I want my body weight or what my body weight goals are. Can't tell if I'm good weight or if I can gain more, should lose more. So if you don't have a goal, maybe you just need to be at maintenance then. If you don't know what you're working towards, you can't really work towards it. So it sounds like you don't have a specific goal in mind. So maybe just go to maintenance and just wait until you do have a goal where you want to lose or you want to gain. But you need to have that goal in mind. Nobody can really set that for you. So what's important to you? Like, do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain weight? It's a question I can't answer, unfortunately. I see some labels with net carbs. I'm adding the total carbs, but still I'm kind of curious what you think about using net carbs versus total carbs. I recommend avoiding net carbs altogether. For certain people, like the keto people that are doing keto, I can maybe see them considering doing net carbs, but it's like something that you have to fully commit to if you want to be consistent with how you're doing things. And I think it's a mistake to do it if you're not like a keto person or whatever. And so net carbs is really a way for a lot of companies to just say, hey, we have less carbs, which is not true, because what they're doing is they're just subtracting the fiber and then saying that. So what I would do is always track total carbs, always. And then you have that standard across the board. So like some people like really obsess about, well, I had xylitol or this sugar alcohol and it has 2 grams of carbs per gram instead of 4, so I should count it as this many carbs. Like, that is getting way into the weeds of everything. I think what needs to happen is you need to just count total carbs, disregard where those carbs are coming from, what type of carbs they are, and then just make sure you're getting a good amount of fiber each day. If you're doing those two things and then you are hitting your calories and protein, you're fine. You don't need to get into the weeds of this specific carb type and I need to count it as this and do this. A lot of time people use those things to justify eating more than they should. And so I would avoid it altogether and just disregard net carbs and just count total carbs and do it that way. Which it sounds like you're doing, which is great. Thanks, but still continue to weigh in several days a week while not checking in until weight stabilizes. You don't necessarily have to. If you want to log your weight, you can. But yeah, when you do check in, it's going to, if this is your first check-in, it's not going to really matter how many times you put in your weight while your weight is changing during this creatine phase. So it's up to you. If you want to have those weight logs in the app, you can, but you don't have to. Got maybe time for one or two more questions here, and then I'm going to be done for the day. So when you get close to your goal weight, is it better to slow the rate of loss down? So as you lose weight with carbon, so you set your goal rate of loss in carbon, and it's based on a percentage of your body weight. So as you lose weight, that rate of loss is also going to go down as well. But, if you start with a high percentage rate of loss, it still might be a lot of weight to lose towards the end of a diet. So if it is, then you might need to maybe create a different goal with a slower rate of loss. But a lot of times if you pick like a moderate rate of loss, as you diet and lose weight, the amount that you are required to lose each week also shrinks down. So as you diet, it shouldn't be necessarily more difficult to hit that rate of loss. But it's up to you on whether you should slow down the rate of loss. 1.4 pounds a week when you weigh like 157, that's probably fat. That seems pretty fast. So I would probably slow it down personally, but again, it's up to you. Now that I leaned out, went from 20% body fat to 12, I'm always cold. Any suggestions? I don't have any, unfortunately. I'm always cold as well. So if you figure something out, let me know. Just wear a lot of layers. Get a couple hoodies and you'll be good. All right. Got time for one more, I think. All right. So if I customize my calories, will this be what Carbon checks for compliance, or is it only based on Carbon's initial targets were? So if you create custom targets, you are basically completely overriding the coach altogether, and you shouldn't use the coach anymore. And Carbon is going to adjust based on the targets it's giving you, not what you put in as your custom targets. So doing custom is really just a way for you to use the diary and not the coach feature. So if you want to use the coach, you need to follow the coach's recommendations and have the coach adjust those. Coach is not going to adjust your macros if you set them custom. So yeah, that's one thing that some people get tripped up on. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this Friday live stream. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We do these every single Friday. This is your time to ask either Lane, Holly, or myself questions about the app, things that you're struggling with. We're here to help you every single week. And so I believe Lane is next week, Friday. And yeah, again, appreciate everybody tuning in. If you haven't checked out Carbon Diet Coach and you just joined this live stream, go to the App Store, Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. You can download Carbon. It's $9.99 a month to subscribe and use Carbon Diet Coach. As a lot of people said and will say and do say, It's well worth the money, and you can read all of our reviews on the app stores. A lot of successful people using it. And so check it out. Let us know what you think, and we will catch you next Friday.